Hey, welcome back to Prairie Wings. I'm Merle, and today I'm learning a very important lesson. And that lesson is when your wife takes your truck out to go get feed for the critters, and she says, "Hey, your dash is making a tick, tick, tick noise, something inside there," and you tell her to turn up the stereo, it's a big mistake, because the next time that you're out and it's really cold outside, your wife's in the passenger seat, well, and you end up freezing her out, you're going to get froze out.
You better fix it, because it's freezing cold and you're going to freeze too.
Oh, this is the culprit. We're going to get into it and figure out why the heater isn't working properly in this truck. All right, I have a classic Chevy, so 99 to 07 Chevy truck with the automatic heater. Anyway, it's not about the head, it's going to be about the actuators today. So these little motors that run the heater doors. So first of all, I'd like to go over to the bench and show you what I'm talking about. I happen to have a heater control unit out of one of these trucks. We're doing some mods to another vehicle, and this is the heater unit from it. So first of all, this is shoved up underneath the dash, passenger feet under here, driver over here. If we take a look at the driver's side, so above the gas pedal, we'll take a little look inside the truck. There's a blend door here. And what this blend door does is this takes and blends between the defroster and the heater vents. Okay, moving on right here, we'll roll this over. This little blend door here, this is what controls the hot and cold for the driver's side. So this moves a door inside of here that is controlling the driver's side. The one on top is the one that controls the passenger side. Then we have another one over here that is for the fresh air. And on this unit, it's off. So this does the recirc and fresh air, and it would be mounted over here. So pretty quick look at this, but there's a couple things that I want to highlight, which when I'm going through it in the truck, we'll come back over here and I can show you things a lot easier on the bench than I can in the truck. Okay, so we talked about the defrost one. Well, it is right there. And there is the gas pedal. So if we look straight up from the gas pedal way inside, you see the red clip for the wiring. If we're chasing the one for the driver's side blend door, well, you can't even see it because this bottom cover needs to come off. And working on these, everyone, well, it's a lot easier to take the console out. It's not that bad. Unfortunately, the passenger blend door is the problem in my truck. So this one I have to get to. You got to rip a lot of stuff apart. There's a bunch of different ways of doing it. And I have figured out the tools that is probably going to make it the easiest for you. So first of all, you need some crucial tools. This is probably the least crucial. You can do most of this by hand. This pry bar, very crucial. These two tools, we're going to class these as the fishing tools. Interior trim tools, and with this, you want to make sure you have a relatively clean, soft shop rag. Then you're going to want a pivoting head ratchet, a straight ratchet, and a metric socket set. Now, you need a metric socket set that has a 5.5 mil, a 7 mil, and a 10 mil on it, and you're going to want a Phillips screwdriver. And then the other thing is you're going to want to make sure that you're prepared for some scratches and wounds, because if you have hands like these, you might want to call a buddy to be able to get in there. It's really tight to get that motor out, but I'll show you how I get it done. Okay, first of all, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take and you're going to want to put a soft rag in there, because these dashes, they end up marking up pretty bad. So these vents, they just pop out. Now that you have the vents out, just reach down underneath here, pop this out. Underneath this panel, there is a wiring bulkhead. It has flexible ends on, they're clips, and all you want to do is unclip those and pull that out quite even. Next thing we're going to do is open the glove box, push in on this side, and it's going to fall down for you. Inside of this hole, if you reach in here, you hit kind of a tin wall in there, reach around the tin wall, and at the top, you're going to find a 10 mil bolt. The reason I have the flex head ratchet is because I can get this in here and work it with both hands through these openings. There is a bolt up in here, 10 mil, one here, and two underneath. I'll show you when I get this out, but once you get those cracked loose, you don't have to sit in there and play with the ratchet the whole time. They spin out with your fingers. Now that I have the bolts out of here, what I want to do is I want to take the screws out of the vents on both sides and then the screws along here. Next thing I want to do is I want to end up getting this in between the airbag because this has got a lip all the way around except the bottom. But having the bottom with a little bit of flex to it allows me a little bit of forgiveness in there. This as well, for putting it back in, it's going to make it easier. All I want to do is dig into this bottom corner and I want to push in this way and wrap that airbag and pry it out. I promised I'd show you where the bolts go for the airbag. So there's a bolt here, and in these top holes up here. These are just for the lineup pins. I should have noted you want to unhook your battery before you do any of this. Now, this plug is what you're going to be looking at, and I'll show you the other end. But instead of having you watch me struggle away at it, all I do is I take one end of my plastic body clip and put it in and give this little pry. Here's what I'm talking about right here on this connector up in there. But before you do that, you just yank this out from the back. This is the lock that holds it in. And you can actually put this on top and push it out. To get at that actuator, which is in behind this harness, you're going to want to release this little black tab under here and pull that towards you. It's going to take that out. The next thing you're going to want to do is find this raised portion on the wiring harness here, shove your body clip in behind and unclip it. Now just be aware that these wires are going to be a little bit tight during this process, but what you want to do is you want to take and push that harness down in behind so you have room to get your hand in there. This is the corner of that actuator. There's not a whole lot of room in here. So what I'm going to do is take you to the bench and show you how easy it is to unplug. I reach in through that dash vent and push this retainer clip. That's what's going to unclip it down here. And then I reach in behind with this and just give it a little flip up. Lots of different ways to get this out. They all suck. People pull off the top of the dash. I've seen all sorts of stuff ripped apart doing this. I guess it doesn't matter how you're working on this. If you curse and swear, you're going to be cursing and swearing. But the best thing to do is to attack this calmly because there is no room in there. So I'm going to show you how to make some room. So I have now shoved in the pry bar underneath the vent to the left of the actuator inside. We'll zoom in once I get the ratchet in there. Okay, I take my pry bar and I go through the bottom below that vent and pry to the left of that opening and pry it up so that you can get a ratchet in. I'll show you what that looks like. After a large amount of frustration, I have that ratchet on there, and that is that 5.5 mil. Now, if you look, when I release this pry bar, it's actually going to push down on that ratchet. And that's exactly what I want to do. Have it in reverse with that straight handle ratchet and ratchet it out. Now, this is for reference because when you're taking this out, it feels like it's forever. So if we turn this around, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just under, well, just over 5 is where that starts to make a skip. And if you look, that head is almost level. So when you're fighting with that thing, that's how high you need to go. Now that I have that turned up to where I can get at it, I know it's out, I stick my magnet on it, and I'm gonna have to readjust because I don't have enough hands. Okay, I got my pry bar shoved back in there, and I can lift, and I can get my ratchet out of there. And then I have to get my bigger magnet. Screws out. Compared to the other side, the screw on the close side is pretty easy, and I can actually video it working because my hand isn't in the way. Now I just take this pry bar, get it underneath that edge, and give it a bit of a wiggly twisty. Not that hard to get off. I pulled the actuator off this one on the bench just so I could show you. The top of this is the blend door. You want to make sure, so this is controlling hot and cold for the passenger. You want to make sure that's moving freely. Anytime that you're changing one of these, you want to check, make sure that's free. Now, on this style of Chevy, I've never had one where there's been an issue. Let me know in the comments if you've found some that there was an issue with that door. That would really suck trying to rip this apart. Having confirmed that the blend door moves free, I know that there's a failure in here. Now, I, working in shops, have never ever pulled one apart because it's just you replace it and you're good to go. Being curious is on my own truck, I'm like, I'm going to take a peek inside this. Well, look what I found. Uh-oh. Anyway, the early ones, this is a 03, they unbolt with 4 screws. That is cracked. I'm going to put it in the vise and see what happens when I try to turn that gear with not a whole lot of pressure. Anyway, this is out of an 05, and I'm like, I want to see if this works in there. And I am just, instead of unscrewing it, just undoing the clips, and I find there's a different style inside, but I think it's still going to work. Now, the difference that I see in here, though, is we have a counter in here and we don't in here, so I'm not sure how they're counting it, whether they're counting steps. I really don't know, but I'm going to try and put this one in. Now, on this one right here, if you look, there's teeth all the way around, but it has a stop on the back. And on this one here, it only has teeth part of the way, so it can only turn its clocking as well as this one. Now, this right here, I'm going to have to look up part numbers to see if it looks like it's a different part number. I have no idea. If you didn't disconnect the batteries to do this operation, you're going to want to take that fuse out probably before you start this and just leave it out, put it in after. Anyways, that is this fuse right here. So, not a big deal. Yank it out. The reason you want to pull that fuse out is because with this heater unit, you have to do a recalibration. And that is going to happen if you disconnect the battery as well. So I threw the 05 motor in, and it appears that it's supposed to be the same motor according to the parts departments. And I just wanted to test it. So I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure you can see the top of it there. I could see it, but I don't know if it's focusing. I'm going to turn the key on and let it do its thing, and we'll take a look. So right now it is moving. It's doing its reset. And you're going to have to wait, I believe it's 40 seconds for that to happen. And now it moved. And it's moving again. Yeah, it's doing its recalibration. So I've waited long enough now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cycle this and make sure, because before when we would move this hot to cold, we would have that tick, tick, tick go on. So turned it all the way to hot. Now I turned it all the way to cold and it is moving. So I'm going to turn it the opposite way and it is moving back. This unit is working. It's the long weekend and the actuator that I put in to test to see if it would work is staying in until I can get an actuator. We have to take this truck on a trip and the forecast is minus 36 degrees C where we're going, which is about minus 33 degrees Fahrenheit. So that actuator is staying in. This job isn't that bad to do once you've done them. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to put this all back together. But the one thing that seems to be a little bit tricky is getting this airbag back in. Now, the thing about this is you just want to protect it when you're putting it back in. This folds underneath. So how I do it is, basically get that airbag started on that side, push it over. And the reason I loosened all of this stuff off is it has a little bit of flex to be able to get everything in a lot easier, as well as the top of this. So it isn't that we need this to go over it, but we need the airbag to push down so this goes in. So I'm just going to throw this together. Okay, I just got to throw the bolts in for this reverse pattern, put everything back together the way it was when I pulled it apart, and then, and then we'll test it and we'll be heading out on a trip. Everything back together, went out for a test drive, and we have total control. Right now I have this side on cold, this side on hot, and that is working perfect. Turn this up to hot, and it's not changed yet, but I can feel it starting. And there we go. Now we got hot air coming out of here. This is working perfect. Right now I have that 05 actuator in there. If anyone knows about different actuators that might be fit into these heater units, drop that in the comments. And if anyone else has any other shortcuts on being able to get any of the actuators in, drop that in the comments too. These trucks are pretty good old trucks and let's keep them running. So if you don't mind, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.